There's lots of representation of what a good man is in pop culture, whether that's TV or film. But today we're going to talk about what I think is one of the most positive representations of a good man. Not even a good man, a great man. His name is Bob Belcher. The Bob Burgers TV series has been running for quite a few seasons now, and it is the hilarious stories of a strange family living their life above their burger restaurant. On the outside, it's fairly straightforward. There's some great jokes, there's some fun musical pieces, and lots of different quirky characters who live in and around the neighbourhood. And while on the front of it, Bob Belcher seems like the traditional cartoon dad of the family. And he is. He's so much more fleshed out than so many other cartoon dads. As a fully developed character and man, I think he is a wonderful example of what being a great man is. Let's talk about it. This is Culture Bug, and today we're talking about Bob Belcher, real man. I should probably start by saying that a lot of this is, of course, opinion. Lots of different attributes are considered manly, and some people think certain personality traits are incredibly important to be a real man, and others don't. If there's anything at all that you don't agree with in this video, that's completely fine. Why not pop it in the comment section? But today I will be using quite a generous sprinkle of opinion, as well as the facts about the show. Let's start with one of the most important lessons that we all learn, which I think is such a wonderful attribute for a man to have: the willingness to be wrong. Despite the fact that Bob is the head of his family, he also runs the restaurant and is the person who makes the burgers for the most part. He's completely fine being passive in conversations where bigger personalities, Louise, I'm looking at you, try to overtake what's going on. He has no problem taking backseat in any arguments or conversations, but also he's completely willing to be wrong. In the episode Little Hard Dad, Bob purchases a plastic helicopter from an online seller. When the helicopter breaks and he's accused of being a heliflopter, he decides it's the principle of the thing. He's going to get his money back. He takes along his son Gene, and of course, it doesn't quite go to plan. Harsh words are exchanged, helicopters are deployed, and all in all, it ends in a ridiculous moment where Bob is hanging from the side of a building. And whilst it does take Gene some time to convince Bob that he's actually missing the point, he does eventually admit that he was wrong. Not just because he believes it, but because he also believes that it's an incredibly good thing to do in front of Gene. He wants to be a good father. Speaking of being a good father, can we talk about the episode Shish Kabob? Not only does Bob decide to take on a second job as a taxi driver in order to pay for Tina's birthday party, he is also expected by Jimmy Pesto to shave off his mustache so that Jimmy Jr. can attend Tina's birthday party. The whole episode is a hilarious retelling of Bob being constantly exhausted trying to raise the money for the party, whilst hanging out with some of the local nightlife. Despite the fact that Bob gets into an argument with Jimmy Pesto, not wanting to shave his mustache off, eventually he does it because he loves Tina so much and wants her to be happy. And despite the fact that in the end he didn't need to shave his mustache off, he still would have done it to give his daughter the birthday party she deserves. The other side of Bob is he's a really great husband. In the episode Weekend at Mort's, blue mould is found in the restaurant, and while the whole building is being tented, the Belchers go and stay with Mort next door at the crematorium. Initially, Bob's resistant to do any of the things that Linda wants to do on their second honeymoon, and he spends some time building the bus from Speed.
The bus from Speed?
Yeah, the bus from Speed.
But then he realises he's being selfish, and then goes over to his arch enemy, Jimmy Pesto's restaurant, in order to spend time with Linda on their Jamaican honeymoon. What else can we say about Bob that shows he's a wonderful man? How about his willingness to apologise? In the episode Father of the Bob, after a massive fight with his father, spilling out lots of feelings from an old argument, despite the fact that Bob knows he's probably right, he swallows his pride and he goes next door to the gay cowboy bar to line dance with his father and apologise for embarrassing him in front of his regulars and get him to come back to the restaurant. Yet another wonderful trait of Bob's is just humility. That being said, he's completely happy to stand up for himself in Lobster Fest after initially resisting any of the parties that were happening. Because he's allergic to lobster, Bob throws a massive blowout party at the restaurant, resulting in the restaurant being completely trashed. He could have left it there, but instead, he gets up on the stage at Lobster Fest, threatening to put his big toe into the only butter available for Lobster Fest. And whilst his methods might be unorthodox, when Bob's passionate about something, he will stand up for it, regardless of who's involved. And that goes for his passion for his work. and his burgers. In the episode Beef Squatch, Bob applies to do a segment on the early morning episode Get On Up. He's so excited about bringing all of his recipes for his burgers to the programme. And whilst it does go off the rails when Gene gets more attention for his Beef Squatch dancing and mask and general bad behaviour, it's clear that at the root of it, Bob's just very passionate about his job. Like in the episode Roaming Bob a Day, when the family have to lock him out the restaurant so that he'll take a day off, and conceding that whilst he loves his job, he needs to take a day off because he does his job for himself but also for his family. And I think we can extend his family to include Teddy, and whilst Teddy does annoy Bob a lot, there's episodes like Friends with Burger Fits, where Teddy goes to see the doctor who tells him that he needs to cut back on his cholesterol or he might end up with heart problems. Bob feels so guilty about this that he agrees to go on a stuntman retreat because he wants Teddy to be healthy. Because whilst Bob loves his job and he wants to be a success for sure, he doesn't want to be a success at the expense of people he knows. Because Bob's comfortable with who he is. It's clear in a lot of the episodes that Bob is completely comfortable in his sexuality. In the episode Turkey in a Can, where mysteriously the Thanksgiving turkey keeps being dumped in the toilet, Bob has to keep returning to the grocery store to replace said turkey. Each time he does, the man at the deli counter flirts with him, and each time he respectfully declines. However, on the final time, he's not necessarily flirtatious back, but he explains that he's not good enough for someone so handsome. Because one of the best qualities a man can have is being completely comfortable in his own sexuality, that he wouldn't be bothered or put out by someone finding him attractive. And at his core, Bob is a brave man. Whether it's Bob dragging Gail through the snowstorm and Gail making bobsled, Bob climbing a giant rock climbing wall to a skylight and into the mild, or the episode Bob Day Afternoon, where Mickey tries to rob the bank. Bob is sent in to give them food and he ends up becoming a negotiator and a man on the inside. He's confronted with guns and people acting irrationally. But he keeps his head and ultimately convinces Mickey to give himself up. I mean, to be fair, Mickey doesn't actually give himself up in the end. All in all, a lot of cartoon fathers are painted as figures of fun, but in actuality, they're quite cruel, dismissive, sometimes even abusive to the cartoon family around them. And yes, we can argue it's just comedy and it doesn't matter. Sometimes having a cartoon represent real life comedy, but switching up the ideas that we have about a patriarch and making him a really, really good guy is a wonderful twist of events. He's not Stan from American Dad being horrible to his daughter. He's not Homer from The Simpsons strangling Bart. He's not Peter Griffin being abusive to everyone around him. He's Bob Belcher. Real man. Thank you so much for watching this. If you've enjoyed it, why not pop a little comment below and hit the like button? Also, what other attributes do you think make up a real man, and is there a representation in film or TV that you really enjoy? Let me know in the comment section the kind of videos you'd like to see coming up, and as always, thank you for watching Culture Bug. We'll see you next time.